Alright, picture this. It's 1916 and you're in a sleepy little town in Oregon. The streets are dusty, the men are lazy, and the government? Well, let's just say it's running on fumes. Now imagine a group of women watching all this, sighing dramatically and deciding, you know what? We could run this place way better. And then, they do. Welcome to Umatilla, Oregon, where the women got so fed up with their town's failing leadership that they pulled off one of the greatest small-town political coups in history. This is the story of the Petticoat Revolution. So, what was going on in Umatilla before this political power move? Well, to put it nicely, the town was falling apart. The roads were a mess, the streetlights barely worked, and the men running the town, they were mostly, not running it at all. See, back in the early 1900s, Umatilla wasn't exactly a booming metropolis. It was a small town with a small government, and apparently an even smaller amount of effort going into keeping things functioning. The men in charge? They were either ignoring problems or straight up making things worse. Taxes were high, services were non-existent, and corruption was pretty much the local pastime. And the women of Umatilla? They were done. So they came up with a plan. And it wasn't just any plan, it was a secret, coordinated political takeover. They didn't rant, they didn't protest, they didn't throw bricks through city hall windows. Instead, they did something way more effective. They ran for office. But here's the genius part, they didn't tell their husbands. Election day rolls around and the men of Umatilla stroll into the voting booths like usual, thinking this would be just another boring, predictable election. They cast their votes, probably not even bothering to check the ballot names. But surprise, every single one of the town's leadership positions, taken over by women. The new mayor? Woman. The town council? Mostly women. The treasurer? You guessed it, woman. By the time the men figured out what had happened, it was too late. The women had won. So what did the new all-female government do first? They fixed everything. Seriously, within months the town was running better than it ever had before. They cleaned up the streets, got the finances under control, improved infrastructure, and just generally did their jobs. And the men? Well, after the initial shock wore off, most of them had to admit the women were crushing it. One local newspaper even reported that Umatilla had become a model of efficiency. The women weren't just running the town, they were running it better than it had ever been run before. The Petticoat Revolution made history. It was one of the earliest examples of women taking political power in the U.S., long before most women even had the right to vote nationwide. And what's wild? The town thrived under their leadership. No scandals, no drama, just good governance. Over time, of course, men started winning elections again, but the women of Umatilla had already proven their point. Politics wasn't just a man's game. So what's the moral of this story? That women should secretly overthrow governments more often? Tempting. That men should maybe check who they're voting for before filling out a ballot? Also a good takeaway. Or maybe it's just this, if you want something done right, sometimes you just have to take matters into your own hands, quietly, and with a whole lot of strategy. Either way, let's all take a moment to appreciate the women of Umatilla, the small-town legends who pulled off the smoothest political coup ever.